Thanks for joining. This is Carol Crone from the STS. This is the STS National Database Preparing for Harvest Close webinar for the ACSD. Today's February 13th. On the call with me, I have Banu, Emily, and Melinda. So just quick welcome and introductions, STS updates, and then preparing for Harvest Close. And we'll go on over to the IQVIA platform and walk through that. Just an update over the weekend, the community page or the executive summary page was updated on the IQVIA dashboard. That's now the first page you see when you log in. What was updated on that is the missingness percentage down at the bottom of that page in one of the widgets. And we'll go through that today. It's reflecting in real time now. And I've verified some sites data. It does look like it's functioning correctly. So we will use that and we'll walk through it and make sure it's working good for everybody. So if you have time to log on to your IQVIA account in another screen, go ahead and do so now, and we can walk through it together. Important dates. Today's February 10th. Over the weekend, we had the updates to the dashboard that went into place. Today's February 13th. Tomorrow's Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's Day and happy Heart Month to everybody. February 21st, we have our our database quality improvement series beta blocker webinar. We're going to talk about the beta blocker data collection form and other things related to the beta blocker project that's going for 2024. Harvest 1 closes on February 23rd, and that will include OR dates through December 31st, 2023. Please make sure you get your data in and cleaned up as soon as you can. I would not wait last minute, just because we have had issues in the past where folks couldn't log into their accounts, or they got blocked from their accounts, or there's an uploader is taking too long to process all of the files that are coming in, so you don't get updates right away. So just please make sure you get your data in as soon as you can and cleaned up, and we'll work on that today too. February 27th, Harvest 1 opt-out ends. So if you, for any reason, have to opt out from Harvest 1, please do so by February 27th. The opt-out form is on the IQVIA website underneath the resource library, and I'll show you where that's at in just a moment. When you opt out, it means that your data for Harvest 1 is removed from analysis. You do not receive risk-adjusted results back, and you do not receive star rating results back. So for some reason, if you need to opt out, do so by the 27th, but remember, you won't receive star ratings. You then would automatically be in Harvest 2 unless you opted out again. So it's just a one-time thing for the specific harvest. And then the monthly webinar for March is on March 6th at 2 p.m. Central Time. Please be sure to put your questions in the Q&A. And I do see somebody's hand up, Jennifer. I don't know. Never mind. I see your hand went down. If you do have a question and you want to raise your hand, please do so, and I can unmute you, but we're going to wait until after the presentation to get to questions. And then this is just the harvest screenshot of the harvest dates that's posted on the STS website. And we're at Harvest 1, which closes on the 23rd. And then Harvest 2 will close on May 24th. And that's going to include data through March 31st, 2024. And then your resources. Okay. Melinda, anything you want to add in before I head over to IQVIA?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. And oh, that's my email. You don't want to see that. You want to see this. Okay. Does anybody need more time to log into the IQVIA platform, or are you all ready to go? If you wanted to log in, it's not required, but it might just help as we walk through some of these things. So you can, I'm trying to make that fit on the screen. It's, for some reason, it's a little big. I got one thumbs up. Okay, there we go. There are my thumbs up. Okay, so this is the STS. Go scroll back up here. This is the Society of Thoracic Surgeons. I've already logged in. When you go here, research and data, and I just go to the for data managers page, and then this is how I access IQVIA. You all might already have the link saved onto your desktop on your computer. I'm gonna log in and I'm just gonna pick a site. So this is the community page when you log in. And one thing I want to just point out on this page is it says STS period ending September 23rd. Star ratings are only um, calculated on Harvest 1 and Harvest 3, which is Harvest 1 is a period ending December of the previous year, and Harvest 3 is June ending of that year, June 30th. So they're only calculated on the Harvest 1 and Harvest 3. I'll ask IQVIA to update this to reflect that the last star rating that's currently posted right now is June 2023. The next star rating, once we have Harvest 1 closed for 2024, that star rating will populate here and these will all shift down. And then this would be updated to reflect December 2023 as the period ending for the star rating. So on this executive summary page, you have your site star ratings over the last, I think we have last 6 star ratings here. And then for all of the cabbage and then all of the rest of the domains that we have star ratings for. The next page on here is the bar charts. This is ICU time, post-op event, post-op length of stay, total blood products which are intra and post-op. Now, all of these are reported within your participant dashboard, which is your raw data, and then also posted within the benchmark reports on the risk adjusted benchmark page, which is the analyzed data. But this is just a snapshot view of how your site's doing compared to the STS benchmark for some of high priority outcome items that will help with resource utilization at your facilities. Coming very soon, I think in March, is this page right now is just representative of isolated cabbages. Coming in March, 2 major changes will happen to this page. We will have a drop down here so you can select the various procedure types that you're interested in. We'll have cabbage, isolated AVR, AVR cabbage, mitral valve repair replacement, mitral valve repair replacement plus cabbage. So you'll see a drop down here, and I believe that's coming hopefully in March. So you'll be able to see more procedure types. And then also the intended function of this page is to update in near real time. So this data should be updating in near real time. Right now it is not, and it's only using the last harvest. So right now it's only showing data through the harvest 4 of 2023, which is September data through OR dates, September of 2023. In March, this will update for your site's data to be in near real time updated after each upload. STSs will still remain the benchmark from the previous harvest, and that's because it's an analyzed benchmark and it's a very reliable number to benchmark against. So we don't so we'll have the STS up, will still stay static. Your site's data then will be updated in near real time with each upload. So that's coming soon. Like I said, in March. And then we'll also, as we get feedback on this page, consider adding in additional items so you could have a quick view of those items. If you're interested in sharing your feedback, that would be great. All right, and this was just updated. So this is the current harvest. So when we talk about current harvest, that means the harvest period that we're currently in. So currently we're in harvest 1 of 2024. That's the period we're collecting data on, you're submitting it in. And this is a picture of what your data looks like prior to harvest 1 close, which is February 23rd. And it's intended to help you clean up your records to check to make sure you're not missing any of the required thresholds for the mortality analysis for all of the procedure types that we have star ratings on, and then also on your outcomes and process measures analysis. Your outcomes and process measures previously known as the NQF outcomes and process measures for cabbage. And over here on the right-hand side, it tells you what is being used. So mortality analysis includes the following variables: status at hospital discharge, status at 30 days after surgery, and operative mortality. So each of these, if we look here, we're going to start with cabbage. Within year 2021 for mortality analysis, the total numbers of records that have any of these three missing variables is 0. Their eligible count using the Proc ID chart for isolated cabbage is 146. They have 0% missingness. The outcomes and process analysis measure, this is include your internal mammary usage, your preoperative beta blockers, your discharge antiplatelets, discharge beta blockers, and discharge antilipids. I believe there's a 5% or 10% threshold on that, Melinda? I believe it's a 5% threshold. I'd have to double check, but there's a threshold
Yeah.
on, it's looking at all of these as one count. So all of them
5%.
would be saying 5%. Thank you. In addition to meeting the required data completeness thresholds for mortality and for the NQF and for the process and outcomes measures, you have to meet the below case count. So this is easily posted here for you to reference. Does my site have enough cases to be included in analysis for the 36-month analytic window? So for cabbage, your site must have 50 cases performed within the 36-month window that we're looking at. 10 AVR cases, 10 AVR plus cab cases, 36 MV repair replacements, and 25 mitral valve repair replacements plus cabbage. This is going to be super helpful. I know I get a lot of questions about, well, how many cases do I need to be included in analysis? So it's right here for you, easy reference, and you don't have to dig into the national report overview to find that information. We also are using some color coding here. If one of these boxes pops up red, it means that you are at or over the 2% threshold. I think it's over the 2% threshold. Yellow means you're at risk. So you're not quite at 2%, but you're getting close to it, and you probably really want to check those cases out. And then green means you're doing really good. You're meeting the requirements for inclusion into the composite ratings. This also has drill down function. So if you're interested in what these 4 cases are for the isolated cabbage, sorry, my dog's whining, Bristol's whining in the background. If you're interested in what these 4 cases are, you can click on this. They're going to pop up here. They're telling you what procedure group they're in. And then you can go check out these 3 variables: the status at hospital discharge, status at 30 days after surgery, and the operative mortality variables. And you can find it right here on the for vendor sites that use a third-party vendor. This would be a read-only form. For sites that have direct data entry, this would open up into a form that you're able to correct and submit directly back into the warehouse. Please note that if you make changes or you identify records that need changes and you go and update them in your vendor software, please be sure to resubmit those cases to the warehouse prior to harvest close. That's why I really encourage you to do this, more than the week ahead of harvest close, just so you can get in there, update your cases. If you need to update them in your vendor software, you can do that. And then you upload a file that contains those cases into the warehouse. This report, and when this report up here goes turns to have near real-time data, which will happen in March. But for this report now, which is real-time data, when you upload a file to IQVIA, it's going to take anywhere from 5 to 8 minutes to reflect the changes on this report. I would give yourself, just to be on the safe side, 10 minutes. Anything over 10 minutes, please let us know, so we can let IQVIA know that there's an issue with the processing speed. And sometimes there are issues with processing speeds towards the end of harvest close. So you want to make sure that, again, that's why you want to get your data in as soon as you can. Justin, I see you have your hand raised. I'm going to go ahead because we're going to move on to the next section. So I'm going to go ahead and ask if you can unmute yourself if you have something you wanted to ask. Please go ahead and do so.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, hi, Justin.
Oh, excellent. Hello. Hey, so I was actually I was recently looking at this, so I'm glad that you brought it up. I do have some red indicators on there, and I was wondering where are those thresholds for each of the different composite scores?
Yeah.
So for mortality and all that jazz.
So the mortality analysis, you have to be below 2% for each of the 12-month periods in the 36-month analysis window. So, and this is all provided in the national report overview posted on the IQVIA platform under the resource
Okay.
library. But you need to be under the 2% threshold for each of these. So it will,
And can you see?
yep, go ahead.
Sorry about that. Can you say the name of that manual one more time? Because I looked through
Yeah,
the
let
other
me
one.
show you.
Okay, thank you.
Show you
Because
right
I'd
where
like
it's at.
to.
Yeah. Underneath the library here, this first link, it's the ACSD National Report Overview. It's going to
Gotcha.
download. And so when you download it, and I'll show you just how I quickly found it. And you're likely not the only person that has that question. So we'll do this. I just look for 2%. And this is the area I'm looking for. So underneath the STS composite quality rating report, which is on page 29 of 39.
Gotcha.
It'll give you the patient population, the time period, and then the data completeness requirements. And it talks down here a little bit more about the mortality field. So here are the 3 mortality fields that are used. And then if the percent missing is higher than 2% for each calendar year in the time period for a composite measure, you will not receive a star rating. So we're looking at this on the rolling 12 months, the 3 rolling 12-month periods that are making up the 36 analytic months. So for example, this was from Harvest 3 of 2021. You would look at this individual period. You have to have 2% or less missing or unknown for the mortality fields. And then the same for the next 12-month period and the same for the next 12-month period. If any of these 12-month periods have more than 2% missing or unknown, you're at risk for not receiving a star rating that would make you be red on that report.
Gotcha.
Um,
Thank you so much.
yeah, yeah, no problem. Okay, so let's go back here.
One of the keys, Carol, for that is missing or unknown.
Yeah.
Some people think if you answer unknown that you've answered the question, and unknown counts as missing. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, thanks for calling that out, Melinda. And I can ask IQVIA to add a /unknown here. So it's a little bit clear, but it's I know it says missing here, but down here a little bit it says unknown. So it'd be helpful. This is for, like Melinda said, it is for missing and unknown. So if you left it blank, or if you coded unknown, it still counts as missing. And it would still populate here. IQVIA, sorry, they have a new ball too. IQVIA has, for this, they are including missing and unknown, which within this field. And as Melinda just said, unknown is considered missing. Okay, so you can drill down here and you can get that list. The other thing you can do is, if you need it bigger, you want to see everything more clear, you could do that, but the drill down capability goes away. So you have to do these double arrows that are pointing towards each other. It says, when you hover over it, it says restore visualization layout. So if you go back on that, it'll shrink this table down and you'll be able to see your cases for the row you selected on. Oh, Valerie, hold on. Go ahead, Valerie. Okay. All right. So there's that. One thing I checked in here.
Can you hear me?
Oh, hi, Valerie. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if anyone else is having the same problem, but when I click on my missingness, there's nothing populated in terms of the cases in IQVIA.
Do you have any numbers there? What does the
I
number say?
Yes, I have one.
So it should, when you click on it, it should turn blue and then it should load it down here. What might be happening is this might be too far down and you might not be seeing it.
I'm actually getting a error message that it cannot populate now.
Okay, then could you send that into the STS to Banu, and Banu can escalate that over to IQVIA. Banu, do you mind putting in the
will
chat
just-
your email address?
Okay, thank you.
Sure,
Yeah, thanks, Valerie.
we'll do it right now. Thank you.
Thank you. One thing I did check in this report, which you can do after your uploads, you want to make sure that none of your that you want to make sure your case counts are correct for the time period and then that they're what you're expecting. So you should know in your vendor software, if you're using a vendor, how many, you would want to know how many cases you had for this specific period. So for 2021, I would want to know, I know that this time frame for analysis for Harvest 1 is January 1st through December 31st for each of these 12 months. So I want to look at the 2021 case count. I want to verify within my vendor software that I do have 146 eligible isolated cabbage procedures. So you just want to double check that all of your case counts are correct. And then the other part I did just to make sure that this report was updating is I compared this to my participant dashboard. I selected the same time frame. I selected isolated cabbage as my procedure type, and I got 146 for my isolated cabbages. I also checked my AVR counts of 71, and I did have 71 isolated AVRs for 2023. So how I did that was just go back over to your operational report. And I'm just going to ask if you have a question, please put it in the Q&A. I'll get to those in just a few seconds. So I went over to my participant dashboard. I selected the time period, and this is, I'm not going to select a reporting time period. I'm going to do date ranges because I'm interested in looking at each of the 12 months that are included in analysis. So each of the 3 12-month periods that are included in analysis. So for Harvest 1, the first 12-month period is going to be January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2021. And I would do this then for each of the other 2 12-month periods. So the next time I would do this, I would do January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2022, and then the same thing for 2023. And I'm going to first start with isolated cabbages. I'll do isolated cabbages first. I'm going to not uncheck any of these because these all are part of isolated cabbage. So I just look at the overall isolated cabbage, leave those checked, and then I'll do isolated AVRs, isolated MVRRs, and I'll go down the list. So if you remember in 2021, it said that I had 146 isolated cabbages. So I'm going to verify that number here. And it's just going to take a second to load. It'll be your first line here. It'll say number of cases. And if it doesn't say 146, then we're all in trouble. And it's working on it. And then from here, I'm going to also go check my mortality just to make sure it's correct. Now, I trust reports, but anytime we have a new report come out, and it's a change in process, something that's supposed to make everything easier, I'm a little hesitant on trusting things. And I think we probably all have a little bit of that inside of us. So I'm a little hesitant on just trusting things right off the get-go. So for this harvest, I might want to just verify everything, make sure that report's not lying to me. I don't think it is, but that's just my issue of trust. So and I know I am here, I have isolated cabbages selected. I know my time period that I selected. I'm going to hide my parameters again. The number of cases that popped up is 146. This matches the number I had on my other screen, so I know that that's good. This screen is still loading. Once it's done loading, you'll see the STS column pop up. But I'm going to go right on over to my discharge mortality tab because that's what I'm most interested in. And remember, there's 3 fields. We have the discharge mortality status at 30 days. We have the operative mortality field, and then we have the discharge status at mortality. So this is the, and what that report does, which is so nice about that report, is it combines all of those fields into one calculation. So you don't have to check multiple spots. For those of you who are on a webinar similar to this, probably about 6 or 7 months ago, when we did this, it took me over 15 minutes, I think, to do just one procedure type, to check my mortality status, to check my case count, and to check my NQF measure, or my process and outcomes measures required variables. It took about 15 minutes to click through all these screens. So that first screen is going to save you all of that time. But I just caution that just because this is our first time with this report, just be sure that, just do a double check yourself to make sure you agree with it. So it's still loading, but I'm going to go ahead. I think if it'll let me scroll, but it's not. The first one is the 30 days after surgery. This is MT30 stat. The fields I'm most curious about here are my unknown and missing. I don't have any there, so that's good. It's just going to take a little bit, I guess, to load. Everybody's probably on there, so IQVIA is probably running real slow right now. Sorry. There we go. Okay, so then there's the STS data. So this page is all loaded. So my MT30 stat, this is unknown and missing. I have 0%. I'm going to scroll down here slowly. I want to look at status at hospital discharge. This is another required field. Interested in my missing. It has 0%. There is no unknown for this field. So it's just the missing, which is 0%. And then I want to look at my operative mortality, which is way down here. And I don't know why, but I think it's the way that the data collection form is set up. So operative mortality, I have yes, no, and missing, we don't have an unknown for this field, and that 0%. So if I go back to my, if I were to go back to the community page and look at the first row, which listed year 2021, isolated cabbages, it has 146 cases, 0% missing for that time frame for the mortality fields, and I confirm that that's correct on this report. So we'll just double check. And I won't do this. I won't bore you going through all of this. I just want to show you how to double check it for yourselves. And first year, isolated cabbages, 2021. I had 146 cases. I did not have any missing, the 3 required mortality fields. So I'm good there. And then you can do the same thing for your process and outcomes measures, which is the IMA usage, which is under the, I believe that's under the operative section, and then your pre-op medication section for the beta blockers, and your discharge medication section for the discharge anti-lipid, discharge beta blocker, and discharge antiplatelet. And remember, look at each of the 3 12-month periods separately to determine. Okay. Oh, I forgot to shut down the chat box. I'm sorry, if you put a question in the chat box, do you mind please putting it into the Q&A so we can track those? Okay, so that's that. So I verified that. I've gone through all of my, all of the various procedure types for the timeframes. The next report I'm going to check, that's probably the most important report. The next report I'm going to check is the harvest summary report. This is based upon, I'm going to look at the whole harvest for this report. So this is going to be January 1st, 2021 through December 31st of 2023. Oops. Dear Lord. There we go. January 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2023. So that's the whole 36-month analytic window. And it's going to pull up all of my files at that in analysis for that time. Now, again, you can run this report by each 12-month period if you wanted, whatever works good for you. Sometimes I've said it before, I like working in smaller batches just because it's more manageable, but it's also nice to get an overall look at what your analysis, what the data going into analysis looks like. So um, this is that whole time frame. Now you cannot, I do not think you can break it down. We're going to see. I don't think you can break it down by procedure type. So you wouldn't be able to look at isolated cabbages or things like that. But you can see that for that time frame, you submitted 3,660 cases. Verify this number against your vendor software to ensure that number is the same and you're not accidentally missing records due to an upload error or something that may have happened wonky when you were pulling down your .dat file for export or import into the IQVIA uploader. So on this report, you're going to have your no validations outstanding and your outstanding warnings. You'll also have listed, if you have any errors, they would be listed here. So, let me see if we can. So outstanding warnings, 70%, and these are all of your warnings. Again, this site has 3,600 cases, so it's quite a bit to go through. If I were this site prior to me getting to this stage in data cleanup, I would have likely looked at these my submissions monthly. As I'm cleaning up my data, I would look at them monthly just to get the data all cleaned up. This is my final look, preparing for the harvest close. So everything, I assume I have done everything right. I've gotten all my cases in. I've already gone through the preliminary cleanup process of reviewing these warnings. Now I'm just doing one last look at it. And let's see if we can get this. I can make this bigger here. This is going to show me all of my warnings. It looks messy, but if you I left clicked on this and you sort these, they'll put them in an order for you. So these cases here have values greater than 150 days in hospital. I'm going to want to review those just to make sure these patients really were not discharged and or were really discharged on the date and I didn't do a typo. So I'm just going to check those out. And then there's going to be things in here, the value entered on additional ICU hours seems to be less or greater than the equal to usual range. I'm going to review those too, just to make sure I did not put a typo in. But again, there's 3,600 cases here. So, there's going to be cases where folks are staying in the ICU longer than what's expected. None of these warnings are going to make your site or make this case not be included in analysis. They're just saying, hey, this doesn't seem right. You might want to do a double check on it. Now, on the error side, those, if you were to have errors, which would show up here, those are more logical issues. So those are things you definitely want to correct before harvest close if you have any errors. So that's that. And let's see. So that's the harvest summary report. Again, as you're preparing for harvest close, the first thing you want to do as you're submitting records is make sure you're, checking smaller time frames, not the whole harvest period at once. And then as you're certain you've done all of that preliminary check the larger time frame for the analytic period, which is the whole 36 months. Check your record count, and then just do another skim through the warnings. If you still have outstanding warnings, just do a skim through the warnings. Make sure nothing's not coming out to you as being wonky, and if it is, fix it. And then you have to upload you would have to upload a new file to the vendor software covering a time frame that includes that record and all of the records performed during that. You could even just do a small time frame of a week. Make sure that you have after any upload, make sure that your case counts are still accurate. Give IQVIA about 5 to 10 minutes to upload on all of the reports after you do an upload. Give them about 5 to 10 minutes to populate the new data that was submitted into them. If it's longer than 10 minutes, reach out to STS and give us a heads up so we can reach out to them. Missing variable. So after I do the participant dashboard harvest summary report, missing variable report will be my next report I'm going to check. Again, each of these reports I've already done with the smaller time frame. So I'm just going to do the larger time frame now because I'm getting ready for harvest close. So I'm going to do the whole January 1st thing, 2021 through December 31st, 2023. And this take a second to load. The site had a ton of cases, so just be mindful of that. It's going to give you the year, the version, and then the year that the variables are missing from. And these look like they're already in alphabetical order. So I would just, just review this. I would just scroll through it. You can, make it larger if you need to. And just make sure you're not seeing anything like this case here where it says aortic valve procedure repair type. It's very odd to me. This is 2% missing. It's odd to me. So here's your N, right? So you have 233 cases that met this parent field, and one case has something missing. So when I'm looking at this aortic valve, where did it go? The VS aortic valve procedure repair type. I have one case out of 6. So I had 6 cases where this field should have been completed. One of those cases has this field missing. I'm probably going to want to go check that out and see why I didn't fill something in or why it didn't get filled in. And then again, if you make any changes, make sure you repopulate your data by a new upload in the IQVIA warehouse. This is for 2021 data, so I probably have already reviewed that. I'm probably going to be more interested in the 2023 data. But you'll find a system that works for you and how you review it and what's important to you in this process. There are things here that, maybe this case is one out of 1,361 where the warfarin at discharge is left blank. Maybe for whatever reason, maybe that patient, I just didn't finish collecting that site, but I want to make sure that once I get that case in, that I go back to this report and make sure that everything still looks good. So that's the missing variable report. And I think those are all of the reports I would check. Again, the community page looks like it's doing its job for the most important things to sites, which is inclusion into the composite ratings and composite metrics and star ratings. I have my yellow green here. I'll check out my yellow cases, of course. And then anything I see, even if it's green, and I'm like, I don't remember having anything missing in 2022 for any of those fields. I'm just going to probably want to go check out what that case is and why it's still what's missing on it. And do I have any more information on it? The other thing I want to bring up, which I don't know that we've reported out, is the still in acute care equal to yes. And let's see. I've had some reports come back from our analytics center. I'm just going to select a small time frame here just to see if anything is there. Had a report come back from our analytics center that the still in acute care equal to yes is coded on patients. And it appears to the analytics center that some of those may be incorrect. Either the case was re-entered and given a new record ID, or the case was forgot about and still sitting, waiting for more information to be provided to the site. So I think it's under the discharge tab, and I don't know that we reported out. I don't think we reported out. The in-hospital transfer to another facility are still in the acute care center. So if you have the ability to check those cases within your vendor software, please check to make sure that any of your cases that are marked as still in hospital alive or still in the acute care center. There's 2 different questions in 2.9 and 4.2. Check those cases to make sure that they are truly still in the hospital receiving care. If not, then please complete those. I am asking IQVIA to add a, on this, first screen, I am gonna ask IQVIA if they could add in um, a note for site so you're aware, maybe underneath this section here, that says the number of patients still in the acute care setting or the number of patients still in hospital alive. Those two fields are from 2.9 and 4.2. I reversed them. In 2.9 it was still in hospital alive, and 4.2 it's still in the acute care setting, equal yes. To provide sites back with accounts so you're able to track those here as well. All right, Melinda, anything to add?
No, excellent presentation. We have a lot of questions.
Yeah, do you want me to go over anything I missed, or?
Well, there's a lot of questions. I think you're going to have an opportunity to do that.
All right, one more thing I forgot to show you where the opt-out form is. So under the library, under resources and then library, of course, the first thing is the national report overview. I just want to say the national report overview, Melinda and I are working on rewriting that, and we hope to have that done with the release of Harvest One reports. So thanks, Melinda, for all your help on that. Okay. The opt-out list. Hold on.
I think it's down at the bottom. I think you discussed it.
There it is.
Yep.
So yeah, it's way down here. STS Harvest opt-out request form. If for some reason you don't have all of your cases in for harvest close, if you didn't have time to clean up your data, make sure that it's all correct, or you think that there might be errors in there for some reason, or you haven't had a change in staff and you're just not sure of the data itself. You can always opt out. For Harvest 1 and 3, it means for all harvests, it means that you're removed from analysis and you don't receive analyzed results or risk adjusted results back. For Harvest 1 and 3, it also means that you would not receive star ratings back. There's no penalty to do this, just that you wouldn't get your star ratings. Be aware if you do it and it's a star rating period that will be used for public reporting, that may also be a consideration for you. And I don't know which data we're using for public reporting. That's not in my area, so just be aware of that if it's something you're debating internally. Okay, let's go to questions. All right. Here's one of our facilities began their ACSD surgery program in April of 2023. They may have met the requirements for number of CABG procedures, but they do not have the 3 years of data quality for a star rating. So it's okay that the requirements to be included into the analysis for any of the composite measures is based on the number of cases and not the time in the registry. So the site should be fine to be included if they're meeting the procedure count requirements. Are we submitting 6 months of data or just October 1st through December 31st? I have input on this, Melinda, but did you want to take this one, or do you want me to take?
I think it depends. I mean, some people resubmit all 3 years in case they've made changes. Other people submit a year. I think it depends on if you've made changes in your data or not,
Yeah.
as to what you can submit. Well, I mean, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, I
And,
agree with you on that. I think if you were happy with your Harvest 4 report, which was through OR dates of September 30th of 2023, if you were completely fine with that and you didn't make any changes to your data that were within that report, and you only added in or updated data with OR dates since October 1st of 2023, then you only need to enter in your 2023 October 1st cases and forward, so October, November, December. I would just be very cautious of your case counts and make sure all of your cases are in there. The reason I say that is I don't know if it's happened to anybody in adult cardiac, but we've had a couple instances in the other registries where somebody thought they were updating their data. They selected a time frame, and for whatever time frame, their export file didn't pull in the cases for that time frame, and it rewrote that whole time frame with, it removed all the cases from the time frame that new export had in it. So you just have to be very careful with this. One thing that we did ask IQVIA to add to check to that is on your uploader page. It's not here yet, but it will be coming soon. On your uploader page, when you go, oh, maybe I don't have it. I don't have access to the site's uploader history. But when you go, you're able to see the report of cases. Let me see if I switch sites. Hold on one second. Maybe I can find a site that gives me access. No? I'm trying. Hold on. Hold on, friends. Let's see if it's here. Oh, I don't know why I still can't see it. But on the uploader page, you're going to have, let's see if I can do this. Oh, maybe I have to put a date in. Let's see if I do that, if that works. I'll show you what IQVIA is adding in. I think this is going to help identify. Well, maybe I don't have, all right. It's going to show you the number of cases removed from that upload. So you'll be able to see that easily. If you weren't expecting to remove cases from the from your data in the warehouse, then that would alarm you to that issue. So that's coming soon, I think also March or April. Quick filter. All right, I'll try. Hold on. Nothing. That's all right.
Somebody says hit filter and not reset, and it will show up the upload history.
It's not working.
Camille says that. Oh,
No, I
Hmm.
might not have access to it, and that's okay. But on the report, you would see a column of the number of cases that were removed, and that's coming soon. It's not available yet. Are we able to see data specific to gender, trying to find data specific to females? So on the operational report, under longitudinal outcomes dashboards, this defaults to the most most recent harvest, which was harvest 4. I do believe there's a filter here for male, female. So this is on the longitudinal report. So you can see that here, Mary, you can filter here. It has our major morbidities provided, and then by procedure type also. Minimal filtering available, but that is one thing that we have available. Is there a page to look to show which cases that are submitted have star ratings misses? Okay. I can kind of answer that question. So and this will be available under operational reports under risk adjusted dashboards. Select the last harvest. I'll select the last star rating, which is 630 harvest 3 of 2023. On this report, I'm not sure if it's here yet. It's coming soon. If it's not, I thought it was going to come out this weekend. So we'll see if it's here, but we have a detailed list of sites of cases that cause the site to miss out on performance metrics. So you'll be able to see which cases cause you. As that's pulling up, I'm going to go to the next question. What are the percentage thresholds? The percentage thresholds are greater than 2% missing or unknown for the mortality fields, and 5% for the for the process and outcomes measures fields, like the internal mammary, preoperative required preoperative medications, and postoperative medications for isolated cabbage. On this process and outcomes measures tab, if you click on, I have to wait a second here. If you click on this, it'll load up and you'll be able to see your numerator and denominator. So Justin, for your question, I think we got that. Laura, are we able to see surgeon's name who did the case? No, that's doesn't populate on the form, but you can within your vendor software if you have that. Can you do this for thoracic one, Nate? Yep, absolutely, Nancy. Happy to do that with Leanne. Is the current harvest percent missingness on the dashboard? They removed the COVID patients from the 2021. So we had, I think it was, yes, Susan, that's part of the algorithm. I'll verify that. It's a good point. I'll verify it, but I'm pretty certain that they're using the same algorithm. They have to come up with the ends on the cases, but I'll ask for sure. Thanks for bringing that up. Okay, to go back, I don't have the number requirement on the missing composite rating. Hold on. So for Laura's question regarding the missingness, we have, see if this will work. I selected preoperative beta blockers. My eligible count for patients who could receive preoperative beta blockers for isolated CABG was 403. If I select see details, this report comes up. They did update it this weekend, so you can download this easily. For the performance, for the process measures, met means that you met the measure, not met means you did not meet the measure. So this case, and then I think you can filter these. So all of these cases met. Did you see how I did that? I left clicked on the title and then I hit the arrows. I'm going to hit the down arrow. Then here are all my not met cases. And I have the surgery date, patient ID, and record ID here. These are likely, maybe this site is a direct data entry. I don't know, but you can have that information here. You can also print this page out. So you have the domain here of what they did not meet or met, and then you have the process measure that was not met. If I go back to the graphs and I'm going to look at, so those are the process for CABG. I want to go back and show you a little bit different here. I don't know why that, oh, there it goes. For the outcomes measures, met and not met are a little bit different. So when we talk about outcomes measures, we're talking about bad things, deep sternal infections, post-op renal failure, return to OR for cardiac reasons, stroke, and prolonged ventilation. So for this site, for this time period, which is the whole 3 months. Oh, okay. Deep sternal wound infections, patients that were eligible to meet the deep sternal wound infection criteria were 444. If I go to, I clicked on this, it turned gray. I go to see details. I get the same report. It's going to take a second. It's thinking about it. And I am going to click on this and I'm going to turn them to met, not met. This is a little different. When you meet an outcomes measure, it means that that bad thing did happen. So this site, out of all of their cases, they had 1 deep sternal wound infection. This is the record, and you can see here the domain and report name. Now you can easily print this out as well when you, I think, export it or something. Okay. And Banu just told me that I can go and show you thanks Banu for texting me.
You're welcome.
We're going to go check out 14301. Oh, I don't know if I don't have that site.
It
But
should
that's
work
all
with that one as well. I think it's got something to do with the time frame.
Oh, okay. We're going to go. That's all right. I don't have uploader on this one. That's okay. Thanks, Banu. I'll try again later.
Sure.
Okay. I don't have the number requirements. The number requirements on the missing composite rating right side of that slide. So it might be when I logged in here, it could be that this is scooted all the way over. So just check to make sure. It could also be the view. When I first logged in, it was set like this. And I could only see this box. So I had to slide this over. So if you're having issues with it, I'm not viewing it. That might be why. But if you tried that and it's still not working, reach out to my friend Banu. Sorry, Banu.
That's okay.
Diane, hi Carol. How do we see the text to the right of the missing report? Yeah, so it should be there. If you accidentally, or if you maximized this screen when you clicked on this, that language goes away. So you have to click on these two arrows that face each other to make that language repair back. Maybe that was the issue. Valerie, we're gonna help you with that. Just reach out to Banu. I don't have any missing data. Is that why? So you should still have all of this reported out if you don't have any missing data, but it's likely that you're not seeing it because of this. So check those double arrows and see if that helps. Silly question, but for the mortality, why is there a missing and unknown option? So the missing and unknown option for 30 days is I think that's where the MT30 stat is the option that has the unknown field, and that's for that can occur if for some reason, say you have a patient, an international patient who happens to go back home after their surgery and you totally lose track of them, or it could be a homeless patient that had surgery and you don't have any way to get in touch with them. So it would be that you attempted to track down that patient, which is the appropriate thing to do, but you were unsuccessful in that attempt. You can click on the far right of the blue bar. Thank you, Michelle. Click on the far right of the blue bar and then small to see the threshold. Yeah, my screen was on maximize view. No problem. We have a patient that is still in house, so I cannot complete all information. I am just to leave these answers blank and it will be incomplete. And that's fine, Heather. In analytics, when that site is marked as, or when that patient is marked as being still in house or still in the acute care center, that will remove it from analysis. So even though it's in the warehouse, it'll get removed when it goes to analysis. Can you confirm if for this upcoming harvest, we only need to submit January through December? So as long as you didn't make any changes or you don't need to update and your case counts all look good. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This upcoming harvest is not January through December 2023. This upcoming harvest is January 2021 through December 31st, 2023. So it's the whole 36-month time period. If you already submitted for harvest 4 of 2023, which includes OR dates through September 30th of 2023, and you've never made any changes or don't need to update any of the cases with OR dates from September 30th, 2023 and prior, and your only new or updated cases are going to be from October 1st through December 31st of 2023, then you only need to submit that 3 months of data. Again, make sure your case counts are right. Make sure you don't need to update anything. Make sure you didn't miss any of the missingness on the previous harvest closes on the missing variable report. But if you're comfortable with your data from harvest 3 or harvest 4, then you only need to submit the last 3 months of 2023 for this harvest. My screen will not allow a drill down. I got the entire screen open. When I click on the number of patients missing, the number turns blue. Yeah, so you're gonna have to, what happens when you do this and you click on here, oh, hold on. You click on here, because I'm in maximize, you can't see the drill down list. So you have to unmaximize the screen and then click. And if I had a case, it would pop up here under the case list. If the patient was transferred to another acute care facility, no DC data available, no discharge data available from that facility where the patient was discharged, but the patient was known as alive at the 30-day follow-up, will this still count as missing mortality status? Melinda, would you like to take that one?
Well, first of all, if the patient's transferred to another acute care facility, that's the discharge date you're going to enter. So you're telling me you don't even have a discharge date on this patient because you're to follow patients when they're transferred to another acute care facility until they're discharged from that facility. So You would need a discharge date, which sounds like you don't have one. And then you, based on the surgery date, if the patient's still in an acute care facility, they never left the acute care facility, then they're still in the hospitalization, you really can't answer anything about mortality till you know how they were discharged from that facility. I mean, you knew they were alive at 30 days, but you don't know anything about the operative mortality because technically, if they're still at the other hospital
Yep.
receiving care, they're still in that episode of care, and so you don't know if it's an operative mortality or not.
Thanks,
And
Melinda.
if
I
you
agree.
have other questions, please send me a question, and I'll happy to review that with you.
Yeah, thank you. Alina, is there a way to mark outstanding warnings as reviewed so they don't pop up again after I reviewed them? I wish there was. Right now there isn't, but something we can certainly add on the list to discuss with IQVIA. I don't know if that functionality is available, but it's a really great suggestion. Thank you. On the harvest summary report, I'm getting yellow outstanding errors. All your errors show a message for missing tax ID. This would be for one new surgeon. Do I need to supply the TIN? The TIN, Rhonda, is not going to restrict these cases from analysis, but we do want you to supply the TIN when you get it. Valerie, can you explain the ACSD participant dashboard report having non-analyzed data results? If I select a time frame of 1/1/2022 through 12/31/2022, wouldn't those cases be analyzed? So the non-analyzed dashboard report, yeah, I can explain that. Please hold. Let me go over here. And Melinda, do you have a few extra minutes to stay on? See if we can get through the questions.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And if anybody wants to stay on, please do. We're going to probably try to get these done in the next 20 minutes or so. If you need to drop, this will be recorded and posted. I can't guarantee. I'll try to get it posted before harvest close, but no guarantee. On the participant dashboard report, non-analyzed results mean that sometimes this data, when the data goes into analysis, unfrequently, but it has happened where PROC IDs change and cases are no longer considered what they were thought to be when they entered in the warehouse. Meaning that you could have thought that the case was an isolated cabbage, but for some reason, when it goes into analysis, something happened and it's not an isolated cabbage, or the denominators change. Very infrequent, but that has happened in the past. The other thing is that there's no analysis, there's no analytics provided to any of this data in the participant dashboard. It's all raw data. So we don't report out anything that would require analysis within this report. It's just all raw, and it's updated in real time as you enter in your cases. We do have sites, or it has happened where usually we can go back about 6 years where sites will be updating cases, adding in new cases. So you might see, even from 6 years ago, you might see the benchmark slightly change from 6 years, from data that's 6 years old. So just be aware of that. That's why it's non-analyzed, is that it's not the absolute final analyzed outcome reports like that risk adjusted dashboard contains. Is there an easy way to look at fallouts by provider? I haven't been able to find an easy way to do this. Hi, Heather. Not in the IQVIA platform. We're not able to filter by NPI. You might be able, if you have a third-party vendor, you might be able to do it within the vendor software. Michelle, my patient, and sorry if I'm going through these really fast. I just want to make sure we get to everybody's question and we don't take up too much time. My patient was transferred to another hospital for stroke care and came directly back to us. The training manual says the discharge date is the date the patient came back to us. Do you want to take that one, Melinda, regarding the discharge date for this patient?
Yeah, the discharge date. So this patient was transferred to another acute hospital for stroke care. They came back to your hospital. So Michelle, the second time that they leave your hospital, the final discharge from acute care would be their discharge date.
Melinda, can you put your email, the email that Justin can reach out to you in the chat box.
Okay.
See, he's requesting to talk to. Jean, hi Jean. If we do monthly harvest, do we need to do a bulk harvest of several months? Apologies if I missed this. No, you didn't miss it. It's really up to you. I would, if you're doing monthly harvest, you're completely happy with cleaning up, you cleaned up that data and you're happy with it. You check your case counts for the overall time period or for each 12 months in the analytic window, and your case counts are matching, you don't need to do a whole bulk harvest at this time. There are talks at STS regarding that, making that a recommendation once a year that we ask sites to do one big bulk harvest. But at this time, that's not in place. And I don't recommend it because it will take a long time, especially for larger sites, for their data to be ingested. And I guess ingested is the right word, ingested into the IQVIA platform. So for now, Jean, I would stick with updating. If you're doing your monthly harvest, continue doing that and just verify your case counts. If a patient was transferred to a hospital jail, we have no way to follow up, so it remains unknown. No other option for this, correct? They should have some, I would think, Heather,
Right.
that might have some type of follow-up with the physicians or the doctors, the surgeon's
Well-
office might be able to know.
Well, and there's a nurse at the jail. I mean, there would be somebody you could contact, I think, at the jail to find out about this patient. Your surgeon should be able to help you do that, or your medical record department or something like that.
Yeah. Ella, I'm gonna unmute you. Go ahead. Oh, we can't hear you very well. The microphone's not working real well. And Jill, go ahead. Okay, I'm gonna read, Ella, we had a question in here about 6 months of data. We couldn't hear you on the microphone, so I'll read your question. It says, I thought we always had to submit at least 6 months of data. That was that a new requirement? No, there's no requirement for the end of harvest close, besides that you have to get your new data in, which is the 3 months, the new 3 months that are added on to each harvest. Sean, when a facility does not receive a star rating due to greater than 2% missingness unknown, is there any plan to provide star rating updates in the future for the past harvest? So the star rating we have a one run policy for star ratings. We only run the data one time unless there's a major analytical error found on the analysis side of it. But pretty much straightforward. We have a one run policy. If sites reach out to us and say, hey, I forgot this, or hey, can you please redo the analysis, or I have a star rating, we cannot rerun the star ratings once they're run the one time. So it's a one run policy for star ratings. If you after that harvest, you submit your data and you get your cases all cleaned up, then that would be considered for the next star rating period. Pat Hobbs, just my thought on the mortality section. I find the mortality on the dashboard still very confusing and time consuming. I always view from the month to month because looking at the year is crazy confusing. Pat, thanks for the comment. The only way to see if you're going to be included in analysis is when you could still look at it month to month, but you have to also take in the 12 months, each of the 3 12-month periods going into analysis. So you still have to look at it this way. For isolated cabbage, you have to look at all of your data for the first 12 months, all of your data for the second 12 months, all of your data for the third 12 months. And each of these periods have to be under 2% or be 2% or less for missing or unknown. If any one of these 3 is greater than 2%, you would be excluded from analysis and star ratings. Can you tell me why the difference in case count requirements for AVR and MVR? So the case count requirements are derived when the risk models are built, and they look at the number of cases, the minimum number of cases to determine performance for the site. So when they built these risk models, they decided that a site had to have 50 cabbage cases in order for the risk models to be statistically significant in calculating their expected outcomes. For AVR, it was only 10 cases, and for cabbage AVR, it was 10 cases. Mitral valve repair replaced 36, and mitral valve repair replaced plus cabbage 25. So it has to do with when the models are built. Oh. So Banu just helped clarify a question that came in regarding the 6 months of data. And I think I know where this question is coming from now. So to be included in analysis, for the analysis, you have to submit your 3 months of new data. If for some reason you do not submit a case for analysis, from, say you submitted for harvest 3 of last year, but you did not submit any cases with OR dates from June 30th through December 30th, you will be excluded from harvest 1 star rating. So you have to have made a submission with new OR dates within that 6-month period. You don't need to go back and submit all your 6 months of cases. You just have to have had a case within that time period that's been submitted. And that's for harvest 1 and 3. For harvest 2 and 4, it's 3 months. So 3 months. So you have to, for harvest 4, which was September 3rd cases through September 30th. If you did not submit any cases between the close of harvest, the previous harvest 3, which was June 30th, and the close of harvest 4, September 30th, the OR dates from June 30th through September 30th, you didn't submit any new cases for that 3-month time period, you would be excluded from harvest 4. That does not mean that you need to go back and submit 6 months worth of data. You just need to make sure that you have your records are in the data warehouse for the time that's being analyzed. So thanks, Banu. That maybe that helped clarify it. And maybe I misunderstood the question. I hope I got it now. Banu, feel free to speak up. I hope I got it.
Sure, sure.
You have to type in dates to get your upload history to view. I don't know why it wouldn't work. If you have missing data of more than 50%, will your submission be eligible for star ratings? It's a tricky question.
I think it depends on what the missing data is. Because we have the thresholds for mortality and the process measures.
Yeah. I mean, we just don't want you to go fill in the mortality fields and the process measure outcome measures fields. So your contract with STS states that you'll submit complete and accurate data in a timely fashion to the STS. So we're eligible for star ratings. We don't have any requirements for data completeness outside of the mortality and process and outcomes measures. But our analytics center would likely catch something like this, and it would likely cause to a bigger discussion with STS. So I don't suggest doing that at all. I think, right, Melinda? Don't you agree with that?
I agree. I agree. I think that, a lot of people work with the NCDR and they have a lot of thresholds. So I think sometimes that's where those questions come from too.
And Al sent in the email, said there was an email. So the email, if you don't submit at least 6 months, that's not what it said. It says if you didn't submit a new case within the last 6 months leading up to harvest 1 and 3. So let me see. I might have to find it. I don't know where the email is at, but I'm scrolling quickly and I know everybody's time. If anybody has it, feel free to share it. It's not 6 months of data with each harvest that you need to submit. It's just making sure that you have your cases updated. So you have to have at least one new case within the new analytic window. that represents the new 3 months for harvest 1 and 3, and the last 6 months for harvest 1 and 3, and last 3 months for harvest 2 and 4. It's just making sure, we just want to make sure that your data is updated, and the most accurate that we have. We don't want to be providing you analysis, looking at a 3-year time window and missing half of, or a sixth of your cases by not having the last 6 months or the last 3 months represented. My upload history was also blank until I sent another file. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. I'll try it again. Most efficient way to see a mass list of patients named for specific missed variables. Good question, Justin. So I think I would do the missing variable report. And let's see. I don't know, it's not going. Let's see if this works. You can get your, here are the variables here. They're not, you can also export this. They're broken down by data version and year. So the first year is 2023 that I selected. But what happens for your post-creatinine patients, if you had patients that were missing, I think, yep, you can drill down right here and see the list. So these are the 2 patients that are missing their post-creatinine. I hope that helps. For missing composite ratings, what does at risk of not meeting requirements for inclusion in composite ratings mean? On what does that depend? So at risk for not meeting requirements means you're getting pretty close to requirements. Once that data goes into analysis and for any reason, they decide that a case in analysis doesn't get included, which lowers your N, or perhaps switches over to a different PROC ID. For whatever reason, it has happened, not frequent, but if it does, that can also lower your N, and that could cause you to be over the 2% threshold. IQVIA had, or when we were with DCRI, who was our previous analytics center and warehouse, we had those same warnings within their data quality report that they sent back to us. So it's just saying you're at risk of not meeting it. When the data goes into analysis, things can happen within analysis. Cases may get dropped for whatever reason, and that would be why. I was reviewing post-op events in the non-analyzed ACSD dashboard report. The top of the list says it's for all my isolated cabbages, but for 2023, but looking at the different event numbers only add up to about half of my isolated cabbage cases for the year. Is this restricted to just the most recent analysis results? I have to dive into that one a little bit deeper, Linda. Hold on 1 second. I don't see the eligible procedure count on any of the process measures which you were showing. So risk adjusted reports. I'll just select the last period. This will take a second to load. Jill, did you have something to say? You can interrupt me while this is loading.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Actually, my question was just, you know how when they give the identifier as the, I don't know if it's IQVIA number with the V number, how do you identify which patient is that actually is
Yeah.
for the hospital number? Are you able to pick that out particularly, or how do you, other than going and looking at what the surgery date is and seeing your patients for your facility?
So one thing you can do, so we try to limit PHI within the IQVIA platform for for the reporting out of this. The one thing that you can do is the record ID. So the record ID is what your vendor software will assign to the patient.
Right.
You can look this record ID up in your vendor software, or you can look the patient ID up. Record ID is going to be a little bit more specific to you because, or more specific because the patient can have multiple record IDs. So if you look up the record ID, it should bring you right to the exact record.
Is that in like in Armis for our
Yeah.
vendor?
It is.
Yeah, Armis even has a category where you can, if I'm not mistaken, sort by record ID.
Well,
So
yeah, when you do go into Armis, they give you that number, but they also it actually has the medical record number attached to it. So any case, I didn't know if it there has been discussion of whether, you know, keeping IQVIA and STS or and Armis, are they necessary to have both?
madam.
And what's your guys' thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's really up to the site and what they're using the vendor software for. And direct data entry is currently a free option
Uh-huh.
for STS. So it doesn't come with all of, the bells and whistles that third-party vendors have, like running your internal queries in your vendor software. There
Okay.
are benefits to IQVIA that you can update. You don't have to do separate uploads and things like that, but you have to, for each site, it's different. You have to weigh and balance what you're using the vendor software for to see if it would be beneficial to switch or not.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So Hannah, we didn't see the eligible procedures. So when you go to the process measure tab, it should be the first column here, Hannah. It might be that it's scooted over some or something, but you should be able to see it right there. How can we find the patient's name? So that was Jill's question. You have to use the record ID within your vendor software to get the MRN, and then you can look it up, the MRN in your EHR. Oh, good. You see it now, Hannah. Okay. I refreshed the page and now view the cases. Thank you. Thanks, Valerie. How often does this real-time data update with the current harvest missingness report? So Brandy, this updates with after each upload that you make. It may take up to 10 minutes to update once you upload a new file. So be patient. If you're not seeing it update after the 10 minutes, reach out to STS and we can let IQVIA know that there's a slow processing issue going on. For the current harvest missing chart, will there be an option at some point to see which cases are part of the eligible column? So all of the, are you looking for the total N, Tracy?
I think she's talking about the eligible for the measures, I think.
Well, the eligible is here, but it won't show you the case count. You can get the case count when you go into the participant dashboard. The first thing that loads when you, like for this is isolated cabbage. If you were to select this time frame and you saw, January 1st through December 31st of 2020, you selected isolated cabbage. This N is what's going to populate under that. And I think that let me see if that has, I don't know if that has drill down or not, but we can check. Hold on. I feel like I should know some of this right off my head, but then I realized that it's a lot to know right off the top of my head. then I forgive myself. Okay, hold on. And then thanks for clarifying on your question about having more 50% of warning data. No, you don't. If you have 50% of warning data, don't you will still be star rated. Don't worry about the warnings. Just check those and make sure the warnings are going to include a lot of things about lab values that are slightly outside of the expected range. And that's normal for cardiac surgery patients. So warnings are expected. Just calling those out just to verify no typos or anything happened. So number of cases, and this 483, right? This matched the number on the dashboard. And here are all those cases right here. So this would be all of the 483 that make up that time frame for isolated cabbage. My site switched to the beginning of the year from vendor to direct data entry. Can I alter records from before the switch in IQVIA since I no longer have access to the vendor? You should be able to just update those records in the IQVIA software. If you have any questions with that, please reach out to the help desk, reach out to Banu. In the raw data reports, is the STS data that appears in its column also raw data? It is, Julia. That's the STS data in this column. Oh, please hold. I gotta figure how to get out of this. Oh, I know, I did this. So many neat little tricks. The STS data in this column, this is the participant dashboard. This is updated with each harvest, so it's not benchmark data. Although it's, we have a large N here, but it's not benchmark data just because it's updated every time and it's not from analysis. The benchmark data will come from analysis and it'll be in the risk adjusted report. Yeah, thanks, Ella, for putting that in. So, so the email that was sent out where it says participants that do not submit cases for the last 6 months of an analytic period will be excluded from the harvest analysis. Participants must submit cases for surgery date January 1st through June 30th to be included in the analysis. So what this means is that for harvest 3 of 2023, if you did not submit a case with an OR date between January 1st or June 30th, you have no cases during that entire period that were submitted, you would be excluded from analysis. So it's not that you have to submit 6 months of data to be included. It means that you have to submit at least a case that was performed during that time to be included. I hope that answers the question. This was a really confusing email to write. So I hope that answers the question. Just let me know, Ella. Yeah, and I understand why it was confusing for us to write to. You're welcome, Tracy, and you're welcome, Julia. Carol, Laura, can you email me the steps you took to view the patient, have the star rated miss for the cases submitted? So sorry, but a lot to take in today. Can you email me, Laura, so I can respond? I'll put my email in here. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. And Judy, from our miss, you have to choose search by adult cardiac episodes to enter the record ID. Thanks, Judy. And then Diane, thank you. You're welcome. I think that's
I might know what Linda was asking. I think
Yeah,
she's talking about post-op events, and it looks like numerators and denominators. So maybe.
Oh, I know. Okay.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying? I read it like 3 times, and I'm like, I think I know what she's asking us.
All right, so let's go. So this site had 483. We're under the isolated cabbage, and we've presented this before. It is slightly confusing. I think, Melinda, I'm on the right page here.
Yeah.
Okay, so for this site had 483 isolated cabbages for this time period. Out of those, we're going to look at infections. That site had 17 infections. And I think so if you just have a few more minutes to hang out with me, I'd appreciate it. I want to show you something, might make your lives a little bit easier when trying to read this report. And I should preface this by saying that we are looking at ways to improve this report by reporting out both the denominator using the entire N versus the denominator of when that specific event was marked as a yes. So hold on. It helps when I review this with let's see if it'll go. I don't know how I got put into that format, but when we review this next to the data collection form. So that's what I want to show. And this will be the last thing we do. And then thanks for anybody who's hanging out with us still.
Yeah, and I did get Justin's email, and if we have a few minutes after this, I'll speak to that, because it sounds like he misunderstood what I was saying about transferring to another acute care facility,
Okay.
acute care hospital.
All right. I'm going to scroll down here. Sorry for the scrolling. Close your eyes if you have any reason to not handle this well. All right. So in the post-op event section, this goes to parent-child field relationships. In the post-op section, you're gonna have, you'll see that there's the only parent here is if expired in OR, no. So the number of cases that are included in the denominator for surgical site complications that could be a potential yes to any of these or no is any patient that had a procedure for this specific one, we're talking about isolated cabbages that did not expire in the OR. So that's going to be your total N, and that's going to be the 483 for this question. When we get down to the child question, like superficial sternal wounds, this N changes. So the only way you can have a superficial sternal wound is if you had a surgical site complication that was marked yes as infectious or yes as both. So your N for this one, superficial sternal wound, becomes a combination of this yes and this yes. That will be your N, and then or be your denominator, and then your count for the superficial sternal wound will be whatever you choose for yes here. So when we're looking at this on the report, and that's how you're going to read this report, I would use the DCF to get familiar with it. Number of cases, yes infectious, yes non-infectious, yes both. The denominator for this is the 483. When we talk about superficial sternal wounds, the number that is possible, your denominator for superficial sternal wounds is going to be a combination of yes infectious and yes both. So for this site, it's 17. So yes infectious, yes within 30 days, it's going to be 11 over 17, and I hope that's 64.7%. Let me check.
I think it is.
Thank God it is. All right. Thank God it is. So that's how to read this report. Deep sternal wound infections. When you look at deep sternal wound, it's the same denominator is going to be yes both or yes infectious. So you have to look at what's the parent to this field. And then your count would be any of these yeses, and that's what it's made off of. Now, when we get into this other in-hospital post-operative event, the whole other post-operative hospital event, hold on. In-hospital event, post-operative event, other than surgical site infection. This does not have a parent to it other than, I think, the expired in OR. So equal no. So the total count for this is any patient that has the procedure you're looking at minus those patients that expired in the OR. And for this site, again, it's that 400, I think, and 83. So out of that 483, how many were marked yes? And that's going to be this here, 771 patients out of their 483 patients had a post-operative event. From that 171, then we look at all of the rest of these. So the parent to this field, re-op for bleeding or tamponade, you can only get to this field if the patient had a other post-op event, in a hospital post-op event. And then this becomes your new count. So your denominator are those that had a post-operative event. Your count is the number that you coded yes here for. So for this site, their count is 11 out of 100. Oops, I'm very sorry about that. It's 11 out of the 171, which is 6.4% of their patients. And the way to say this is 6.4% of their patients that had a post-operative event had a bleeding tamponade return to OR. So that's likely what you're seeing, Linda. And Melinda, I hope I have anything to add into that.
No, I get a lot of questions about that. So
Okay.
can be quite confusing, and you did a great job explaining it.
Okay. That's what these calls are for.
So okay, I just wanted to talk.
And I can handle this. All right.
So I got Justin's email. So,
Okay.
and I'm going to respond to you personally, Justin, but I just want to make sure I didn't misspeak. So when I talk about transferring to another acute care hospital facility, we're talking about a hospital, not an SNF, not an LTAC. We're talking about an acute care hospital. So if a patient transfers from your hospital to another acute care hospital, then you follow that patient until discharge from that hospital that they were transferred to. This does not include patients that get discharged to SNFs or LTACs. Those are not considered acute care hospitals. They may be considered acute rehab facilities, but they're not acute care hospitals. I just wanted to say that for the 135 people that are left in case there was that misunderstanding from other people on the call.
Let's see, is Justin still on?
I don't know if he's still
All
with us
right.
or not.
Well, hopefully he heard your answer. Let's see.
I'll email him too.
All right. I don't see him on, but yeah, email would be helpful too. Thank you so much, Melinda. Thank you, Banu, for helping me out today. And thanks everybody for the great questions. I hope this was helpful. Harvest closed February 23rd. Please be sure to get your data in and cleaned up ahead of time. And I hope you have a great rest of the day. Take care. And again, Melinda, thank you so much.